Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Keys to the Kingdom. I'm Marissa, and I hope you're all having a great Shabbat. Hope you're having a great Saturday. Lovely weekend, I hope. A few things before we get started. Sorry I'm late, but for some reason I was thinking 3:30, and it was totally 3 o'clock. Shabbat Shalom, Gina. Glad you can make it. So glad you're here. Okay, a few things before we get started. Hold on one second. Let me grab something. Okay, I'm here. Shabbat Shalom, Crystal, Rahim, and Lisa. I'm back. Lisa said I'm back in the Arnold Schwarzenegger voice. Glad you guys can make it. Just a few things before we get started with our Bible reading for today. I did make a post about this, but I wanted to just let everybody know. Some of you maybe have them already. You probably already have them. And some of you may not even know about it. But periodically on this page, we have people giving a donation for the Kingdom Ready tank tops. These here. It says Kingdom Ready on the front, and then it says Keys to the Kingdom, Matthew 16:19 on the back. Well, I had done them for the page, and it's helped, just do some advertising for the page. But back in 2015, I prayed to God about ministries that I could give to, because at the time I was not a part of any congregation, and I just felt like giving to some congregations that were in need. And He had put it on my heart back in 2015 regarding the poor, the widow, and the orphans. And so immediately God answered that prayer. I don't even know how they found me. I think somehow they literally appeared out of thin air through social media. But He connected me to two different congregations. One congregation is in Africa. It's ran by Pastor Ivan, and it's a congregation in Africa, and it's all kids. I mean, he takes care of so many orphans, and I don't know if any of you have been to Africa or know anything about what goes on over there, but and I've never been there, but when you study the strongholds that are over there because of witchcraft and voodoo and all of these things, there's very strong deep roots of strongholds having to be. I mean, they're deeply rooted in Satanism and witchcraft, and this is stuff that is openly practiced and passed down through the generations in Africa. With that being said, because of that, there are terrible things that happen to kids and their mothers, and obviously their families are under these curses almost. And so He takes in all of these children. And so God bless me. I've been able to give to him in that congregation ever since 2015. And then the second congregation that God brought to me, I mean, it just like they both came at the same time. I don't know. Only God could have done it. Is in Pakistan. And this congregation in Pakistan is widows and orphans. So you have children and you have older women who are orphaned. And you have to understand, in Pakistan, it is a strongly Muslim country. It's a little bit liberal in some parts, but it's still very much a Muslim country. And in certain parts of Pakistan, they will persecute you if you are a Christian. So part of this congregation, and this is ran by Shahid, Brother Shahid, Pastor Shahid. He doesn't go by pastor, but that's his name. He is the head of the congregation over there. Well, part of that congregation ended up having to move to Malaysia because they were suffering persecution in Pakistan. And now he's trying to come to Canada. He's actually trying to immigrate to, am I saying that right? He's trying to escape from Malaysia now and come to Canada. So it was put on my heart that from now moving forward, I want all of the donations for the tank tops to go to these two congregations. And in addition to the tank tops, if you order one, please message me and let me know your size before you do, because I need to make sure that I have it in stock. But I will also send you a key on a chain with that tank top as well, for Keys to the Kingdom, obviously. And this is just going to help support these two ministries. It's already hard enough for them because of where they live. But now with COVID and everything that's happened with COVID, it's just made things even more harder. A lot of the people who were donating to them can't because of COVID, and most of their donations obviously are coming outside of their countries. And it's harder for them to get supplies. Both of these congregations not only need food, and we're talking about, they buy massive bags of cornmeal. This is their food, and they mix it up. So not only do they need food, but they also are in heavy, heavy need of medical supplies, because especially the one in Africa, they suffer a lot of malaria. And so when this happens, they need the medical supplies that are necessary to help them with the malaria. And then the one in Pakistan, a lot of the older women have diabetes, and they have all of these conditions because, unfortunately, they're stuck to whatever diet that they can consume, because they just don't have that much at their disposal. So I just wanted to let you know that anyone who donates for one of these tank tops and the key with the chain will all go to these two congregations. It will help them out tremendously. Every little bit helps, because obviously our currency here will go a little bit further over there, but they have, and normally these two pastors will never ask me for anything unless it's really bad. Unless it gets really, really bad and they're desperate, they won't message me and ask me. I try to give to them every month, my husband and I, as much as we can. But like I said, unfortunately with COVID, everything has become even harder than it already was for them. So I just wanted to make that announcement and make that clear here. Second thing I wanted to say, I told you when we started this Bible study that I use this Bible, the Complete Jewish Bible. And I feel like I need to make sort of another, I don't know, maybe like a little tweak on my Bible recommendation. Because I know, listen, it's hard enough just trying to read your Bible, but then finding out that parts of it aren't translated properly is kind of frustrating. But it's almost like you can find that with any translation. There's just all these different discrepancies. And we're talking about, words that mean things. So as much as I love this book, I have found a couple already. I have found a couple of things in here, and I've had this Bible, I've had this version, the Complete Jewish Bible, since 2009, possibly, maybe 2010. So I've had it for a while now, and for some reason I've been reading this book, and I'm actually going to do some videos, short videos on some things that I have found out in this book, and it has really led me to be more aware of the translation, what's in it, trying to figure out what was really in the original texts. I don't want to take you down a rabbit trail, but I just wanted to say no text is perfect. I know we say that it's the perfect, inerrant Word of God. That is true to a certain extent, but when it comes to the translations, especially transferring into English, which is terribly hard to do, things happen. So this Bible isn't perfect either. You know, there's things that are right in the New King James Version that are not right in this Bible, and vice versa. So just use what you have at your disposal. As long as we're getting in the Word and doing our best, getting familiar with the stories is good. And then, later on, if you want to go deeper with your Strong's Concordance and learning about the different translations and the histories of the texts, which is what I'm currently doing, then you can do that later on. But I just wanted to put that out there. This is not perfect. I haven't found yet a perfect translation that really is just like the original text. And I know they try, but we do the best we can with what we have. Just wanted to put that out there. I think there was one more thing I wanted to say before we get started. All of the people who asked for DVDs, who didn't get one yet, if you're watching, I'm going to be sending those out this week. All of the new names that I got, I'll be sending those out sometime this week, probably Tuesday or Thursday. So I haven't sent them yet, but you will be getting them if you haven't gotten them yet. I think there was one more thing. This is why I normally write stuff down. Yeah, so I will sometime this week, I will be making a couple of short videos having to do with certain subjects that are in this current book that I'm reading, having to do with the history, like all of the history of the ancient texts, all of the texts that make up our current canon that we use today. Oh, this is one of the things. Well, I'll just give you a sneak peek of what's in there. So, if you've been watching on this page for a little while, we do talk about some books that are outside of our canon. So the book of Jasher, or the book of Enoch, or the book of Jubilees. There are things, books that are not in our canon but are mentioned in the Bible. And a lot of people would call a lot of those books the Apocrypha. And most people think that the Apocrypha is very Roman Catholic, that it's rooted in just Roman Catholicism. But I just found out that the Apocrypha was not removed from the canon until 1880. So all these years, the Apocrypha was in the canon only until 1880. So it was not just in the Catholic canon, but it was also in the Protestant Bible all the way up until 1880. And I haven't been able to find any real reason for why it was removed. I just thought that was interesting, because I always thought that it was removed like way before that, and it was only in the Catholic canon. So I just thought I would share that little tidbit of information with you. But let's go ahead and get into our Bible readings. So we're going to be starting in Genesis 23, verse 1. And this whole chapter starts, we're actually going to read two parshas today. One, because one of them is very, very short. having to do with the life of Sarah, and the other one is the history, and it gets into the life of Isaac. So let's go ahead and just start reading our Bibles. So chapter 23, verse 1. Let me just fix my camera. So Sarah lived to be 127 years old, and these were the years of Sarah's life. Sarah died in Kiryat Arba, also known as Hebron, so she was buried in Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn Sarah and weep for her. Then he got up from his dead one and said to the sons of Het, I am a foreigner living as an alien with you. Let me have a burial site with you so that I can bury my dead wife. The sons of Het answered Abraham, Listen to us, my lord. You are a prince of God among us, so choose any of our tombs to bury your dead. So already Abraham is respected even in this land of Canaan where all of these ungodly people live. He is still respected as a man of God. Not one of us would refuse you this tomb for burying your dead. Abraham got up, bowed before the people of the land, the sons of Het, and spoke with them. If it is your desire to help me bury my dead, then listen to me. Ask Ephron, the son of Zahar, to give me the cave of Machpelah, which he owns, the one at the end of his field. He should sell it to me in your presence at its full value. Then I will have a burial site of my own. He would you'll see there's a little bit of a running theme here where Abraham will not take anything for free from these people. They're trying to give it to him as a gift. He doesn't want it as a gift. He wants it to be known and made very public that he purchased it with a price and it is rightfully his, not given to him. Ephron the Hittite. So remember, the Hittites are a part of the Nephilim, okay? This is part of the Canaanite region, and all of these Hittites and Jebusites and all of the ites are part of these Nephilim peoples. Ephron the Hittite was sitting among the sons of Het, and he gave Abraham his answer in the presence of the sons of Het, who belonged to ruling council of the city. No, my lord, listen to me. I'm giving you the field with this cave. I'm giving it to you. In the presence of my people, I'm giving it to you. Abraham bowed before the people of the land and spoke to Ephron in their hearing. Please be good enough to listen to me. I will pay the price of the field. Accept it from me, and I will bury my dead there. But Ephron answered Abraham, My lord, listen to me. A plot of land is worth 400 silver shekels. What is that between me and you? Just bury your dead. Abraham got the plot of what Ephron had said. So he weighed out for Ephron the amount of money he had specified in the presence of his sons. 400 silver shekels of the weight accepted among merchants, 10 pounds. So he told him the price was going to be 400 shekels of silver, and that's exactly how much Abraham paid for it. Thus the field of Ephron in Machpelah, which is by Mamre, the field, its cave, and all the trees around it, were deeded to Abraham as his possession in the presence of the sons of Het, who belonged to the ruling council of the city. Then Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah by Mamre, also known as Hebron, in the land of Canaan. The field and its cave had been purchased by Abraham from the sons of Het as a burial site which would belong to him. So he's making it very clear it belongs to him. He paid for it. He paid the full price. But now Abraham was old, advanced in years, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in everything. Abraham said to the servant who had served him the longest, who was in charge of all he owned, Put your hand under my thigh, because I want you to swear by the Lord, by Jehovah, God of heaven, the God of the earth, that you will not choose a wife for my son from among the women of the Canaanite. So he's making sure that he will not choose a son for Isaac among the Canaanite women, among whom I am living, but that you will go to my homeland, to my kinsmen, to choose a wife for my son Isaac. The servant replied, suppose the woman isn't willing to follow me to this land. Must I bring your son back to the land from which you came? Abraham said to him, see to it that you don't bring my son back there. So he's saying, don't take Isaac there. Make sure that this woman comes here. The Lord of God of heaven, who took me away from my father's house and away from the land I was born in, who spoke to me and swore to me, I will give this land to you and your descendants. So Abraham is following everything that God had already promised. He's giving it to me and my descendants. The promise is going through Isaac. That means his wife must come here so we may continue this in the will of God. We may continue in the will of God here. I will give this land to you and your descendants. He will send his angel ahead of you, and you are to bring a wife for my son from there. But if the woman is unwilling to follow you, then you are released from your obligation under my oath. Just don't bring my son back there. The servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. Then the servant took 10 of his master's camels and all kinds of gifts from his master, got up and went to Aram Naharaim, to Nahor's city. So this is back to the land where Abraham came from. Okay. Toward evening, when the women went out to draw water, he had the camels kneel down outside the city by the well. He said, the Lord God of my master Abraham, please let me succeed today. So he's praying to God to succeed. And show your grace to my master Abraham. Here I am standing by the spring as the daughters of the townfolk come out to draw water. I will say to one of the girls, please lower your jug so that I can drink. So he's saying, I'm going to know who she is if this happens. So he's praying to God and he's saying, I will ask one of these girls for something to drink. And if she answers, yes, drink, and I will water your camels as well, then I will let her be the one you intended for your servant Yitzhak or Isaac. This is how I will know that you have shown grace to my master. In other words, she is going to be so gracious and accommodating and have such a kind heart as to say, yes, let me give you some water and let me feed your camels also. Before he had finished speaking, Rebekah, the daughter, or Rivkah in Hebrew, Rivkah, the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, came out with her jug. So this is Abraham's family. This is his extended family. Came out with her jug on her shoulder. The girl was very beautiful, a virgin, never having had sexual relations with any man. She went down to the spring, filled her jug, and came up. The servant ran to meet her and said, please give me a sip of water from your jug to drink. Drink, my lord, she replied, and immediately lowered her jug onto her arm and let him drink. When she was through letting him drink, she said, I will also draw water for your camels until they have drunk to their fill. I mean, immediately after he prayed this prayer, God answers it. She quickly emptied her jug into the trough and then ran again to the well to draw water and kept on drawing water for all his camels. The man gazed at her in silence. He's like, oh my God, I just prayed this prayer and she did it. Waiting to find out whether the Lord had made this trip successful or not. When the camels were done drinking, the man took a gold nose ring weighing 1/5 of an ounce. Believe it or not, that's how they used to get engaged or mark that someone was belonged to someone else or that they were wedded to someone else. It was actually a nose ring. Weighing 4 ounces, and asked, whose daughter are you? Tell me, please, is there a room in your father's house for us to spend the night? She answered, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, born to Nahor, adding, we have plenty of straw and fodder and room for staying overnight. The man bowed his head and prostrated himself before the Lord. Then he said, Blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who has not abandoned his faithful love for my master, because the Lord has guided me to the house of my master's kinsman. The girl ran off and told her mother's household what had happened. So Rebekah had a brother named Laban. When he saw the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrist, besides, and when he heard his sister Rebekah report of what the man had said to her, he ran out to the spring and found the man standing there by the camels. He says, Come on in, you whom Jehovah has blessed. Why are you standing outside when I have made room in the house and prepared a place for the camels? So the man went inside, and while the camels were being uploaded and provided straw and fodder, water was brought for him to wash his feet and the feet of the men with him. So you can see they're very accommodating. This was common practice to wash people's feet when they came in because they wore sandals. They didn't have Nikes. So you're walking everywhere you go. So you have dirt on your feet. You probably have dung on your feet. And so it was common practice to wash someone's feet when they came into your house. But when a meal was set before him, he said, this is what he says, I won't eat until I say what I have to say. Laban said, Speak. And he said, I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has greatly blessed my master so that he has grown wealthy. He has given him flocks and herds, silver and gold, male and female servants, camels and donkeys. Sarah, my master's wife, bore my master a son when she was old, and he has given him everything he has. My master made me swear, saying, You are not to choose a wife for my son among the women of the Canaan, among whom I am living. Rather, you are to go to my father's house, to my kinsmen, and choose a wife for my son. He can't choose a wife from the Canaanite women. Their DNA is tainted. And they have, back then when you wed into another family, you're connected to that family pretty much permanently. And there is almost like kind of like a family contract almost. He couldn't possibly take a woman from the Canaanites. I said to my master, Suppose the woman isn't willing to follow me. Abraham answered me, The Lord in whose presence I live will send an angel with you to make your trip successful. So you see, he's calling upon the holy angels to guide him on his way there and to help him be successful in what he's there to do. Sometimes you have to call on your angels. So he says, Make your trip successful, and you are to pick a wife for my son from my kinsman in my father's house. This will release you from your obligation under my oath. But if when you come to my kinsmen, they refuse to give her to you, this too will release you from my oath. So he's telling them everything that happened. He's like, oh my gosh, Abraham told me to go here and do this. And then he says, so today I came to the spring and said, Lord, God of my master Abraham, if you are causing my trip to succeed in this person, in its purpose, then here I am standing by the spring. And he tells him what happened. He goes, I'm standing there, and I said, Lord, I'll know who she is when I say to one of the girls coming out to draw water, let me have a sip of water from your jug. And if she answers, yes, drink, and I will water your camels as well, then let her be the woman you intended for my master. And even before, and he's telling them, he's like so excited about what God just did. He says, even before I finished speaking to my heart, he's just talking to God in his heart. There comes Rebekah, going out with her jug on her shoulder. And she went down to the spring and drew water. When I said to her, please let me have something to drink, she immediately lowered the jug from her shoulder and said, drink, and I will water your camels as well. So I drank, and she had the camels drink too. So I asked her, whose daughter are you? And she answered, the daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to him. Then I put the ring on her nose and the bracelets on her wrist, bowed my head, prostrated myself before the Lord, and blessed Jehovah, God of my master Abraham, for leading me, having led me in the right way to obtain my master's brother's granddaughter for his son. So now, if you people intend to show grace and truth to my master, tell me. But if not, tell me, so that I can return elsewhere. So he wants to know, all of this has transpired. God was in it. Are you going to let her go? Laban and Bethuel replied, since this comes from the Lord, we can't say anything to you, good or bad. Rebekah is here in front of you. Take her and go. Let her be your master's son's wife, as the Lord has said. When Abraham's servant heard what they said, he prostrated himself on the ground to the Lord. Then the servant brought out silver and gold jewelry, together with clothing, and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave valuable gifts to her brother and mother. He and his men then ate and drank, and they stayed the night. In the morning they got up, and he said, send me off to my master. Her brother and mother said, let the girl stay with us a few days, at least 10. After that she will go. And he answered them, don't delay me, since the Lord has made my trip successful, but let me go back to my master. They said, we will call the girl and see what she says. I think that's nice that they were asking her what she wanted to do. They called Rebekah and asked her, will you go with this man? And she replied, I will. So they sent their sister Rebekah away with her nurse, Abraham's servant, and his men. They blessed Rebekah with these words, our sister, may you be the mother of millions. May your descendants possess the cities of those who hate them. Then Rivkah, her maids, mounted the camels and followed the man. So the servant took Rebekah and went on his way. Meanwhile, Isaac, one evening after coming along the road from Beer Lahai Roi, he was living in the Negev and went out walking in the field. As he looked up, he saw the camels approaching. I bet he was getting very excited. Rebekah too looked up, and when she saw Isaac, she quickly dismounted the camel. She said to the servant, who is this man walking to the field to meet us? When the servant replied, it is my master, she took her veil and covered herself. The servant told Yitzhak, or Isaac, everything he had done. So the servant told Isaac everything that happened. Then Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. Thus was Isaac comforted for the loss of his mother, because he had lost his mother a little while ago, some years ago, and he was still quite young, because remember, Sarah was very old. So now he's comforted, and he has almost this replacement for the love he had. The hole that was missing for his mother has now been filled with this new wife, Rebekah. So chapter 25, Abraham took another wife. So it is biblical. It's not biblical to have multiple wives, but it is biblical that once your spouse passes, you have the choice or option to remarry if necessary. And back then, almost every man probably would have remarried, because the men didn't cook or clean, or they didn't do certain things, and I'm sure maybe there was another reason. But Abraham is pretty old at this point, so maybe, even though he is still old, he ends up having more children through this new wife. So Abraham took another wife whose name was Keturah. How many people here, comment below, didn't know that Abraham married another wife after Sarah died? Did anybody here know or not know that Abraham remarried after Sarah died? Let me know. I'm kind of curious. Who didn't know that? So check this out. he remarries Keturah, and she bore him, look at all these kids they have, Zimran, Yokshan, Medan, Midian, Yishbak, and Shuach. Crystal says no, she did not know that. Oh, hi, Jessica. I didn't even see that you were here. Gina says, no, I didn't. I remember some time back, before I had read the entire Bible, the whole word, I have read through Genesis, but I did not remember that. Sometimes we miss things. Sometimes we miss it. We just read too quickly and we miss certain things. But it's important to know this because two of these descendants you're going to see come up again. The Midianites, you'll see when Moses leaves Egypt, he goes and stays with the Midianites. These are descendants of Abraham's second wife. Okay? So remember that Moses takes a wife from one of the Midianites, Zipporah. She was from the Midianites. And this is a descendants from Abraham and his second wife. Yokshan fathered Shiva and Dedan. The sons of Dedan were Ashurim, Letushim, and Leuim. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Avida, Elada, and all these were descendants of Keturah. So Keturah is the second wife of Abraham. So it is interesting when you pay attention to the names. Later on, you're like, who are these people? Well, if you go back and you flip back in your Bible and you see the lineages, you'll find out who they come from. Which puts things into context. It helps put things in context. Abraham gave everything he owned to Isaac. But to the sons of the concubines, he made grants while he was still living and sent them off to the east, to the land of Kedim. So these concubines, in other words, these other women that he had, well, I don't see another woman. Even though it says here, it says that he took another wife, Keturah, and they had all these kids. But it says here, but to the sons of the concubines. I don't know, that's a little bit confusing for me. I don't know if there was just, like, if he remarried and then just had other women. And it doesn't mention the children. He made grants while he was still living and sent them off to the east. So they were going to the east. I mean, these people that live in the east today are probably descendants here. Well, to the east of Israel, anyway. Sent them off to the east to the land of Kedem, away from Isaac, his son. So he was probably using some wisdom here because he had given everything that he had to Isaac, and he sent them off to the east because he wanted them to have different land. Where am I at? So this is how long Abraham lived, 175 years. Then Abraham breathed his last, dying at a ripe old age, an old man full of years. He was gathered to his people. Isaac and Ishmael, his sons, buried him in the cave of Machpelah. But you notice here that Isaac and Ishmael, so Ishmael was the first one through Hagar. Still not the son of promise, but Isaac and Ishmael get a lot more focus than any of the other sons that he has after Sarah dies. I find that interesting. Maybe because Ishmael is the firstborn, and the other ones were just way later on, type of thing. But Isaac and Ishmael, his sons, buried him in the cave of Machpelah in the field of Ephron, the son of Zihor, the Hittite by Mamre. So where Sarah was buried, Abraham was buried as well, next to Sarah. In Mamre, the field which Abraham purchased from the sons of Het. Abraham was buried there with Sarah, his wife, like I just said. After Abraham died, God blessed Isaac, his son, and Isaac lived near Beer Lahai Roi. This is still in the land of Canaan. Here is the genealogy of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian woman bore to Abraham. So you'll remember that God did make a promise to Hagar. So he did make a promise to Hagar that her son, even though he was not the son of promise, that the covenant would not go through him, that he would make him a great nation, and many kings would come through him as well. And so this is why there is still some focus on Ishmael, whom Hagar the Egyptian woman bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael listed in the order of their birth. The firstborn of Ishmael was Navayot, followed by Kedar, Adbaal, Mivsam, Mishma, Duma, and Massa, Hada, Tema, Yetur, Naphish, and Kedma. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names according to their settlements, camps, and 12 tribal rulers. So it's interesting, I find it interesting, that there ends up being 12 tribes of Ishmael, and then in the next generation, there's the 12 tribes of Jacob, of the 12 tribes of Israel, or Jacob. I find that interesting. This is how long Ishmael lived, 137 years. Then he breathed his last, died, and was gathered to his people. Ishmael's sons lived between Havilah and Sor, near Egypt. So they're very close to Egypt as you go towards Asher, and he settled near all his kinsmen, because naturally he's going to be closer to Egypt because his mom, Hagar, was an Egyptian. And as you can remember from before, I think it was last week, Ishmael married an Egyptian wife. So it makes sense that they live closer to Egypt. Okay, so now we're in the Parsha. It's called Toldot, which is the history. And it says, here is the history of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham fathered Yitzhak, Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel. So he's 40 when he takes Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, the Arami from Padan Aram, and sister of Laban, the Arami, to be his wife. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. Here we go again. The Lord heeded his prayer, and Rivkah became pregnant. So here we go again in the next generation. And now Isaac is praying. So I think that's interesting that a promise was given to Abraham, but now you have Isaac praying for his wife. And I think he learned that because he learned to pray to God because the servant who found his wife prayed to God, and God answered that prayer. So you see him now praying on his wife's behalf because she didn't have any children. And then she becomes pregnant. And the children fought with each other inside of her so much. So she's pregnant. Sorry, my nose is itching. The children fought with each other so much inside of her womb that she said, if it is going to be like this, who can go on living? So it's like so much pain. I'm sure it's a pain for her to be feeling all of this struggle between the two in her womb. Why go on living? She went to inquire of the Lord, who answered her, there are 2 nations in your womb. From birth, they will be 2 rivals. 2 rival peoples. One of these peoples will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. The older will serve the younger. When the time came for her delivery, there were twins in her womb. The first came out with was reddish and covered all over with hair like a coat. So they named him Esau, which means completely formed and having hair already. Then his brother emerged with his hand holding Esau's heel. So he was called Jacob, which means he catches by the heel or he supplants. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. So Isaac is 60 when Rebekah gets pregnant. The boys grew up and Esau became a skillful hunter. So let me read that again. The boys grew up and Esau became a skillful hunter. If you remember from our past readings, hunters normally don't follow God. It's kind of a pattern that the hunters, like Nimrod, the hunters aren't interested in God. It's usually someone who's worldly. So, a skillful hunter and an outdoorsman, while Jacob was a quiet man who stayed in the tents. Isaac favored Esau because he had a taste for game. So now his father Isaac, I'm surprised Isaac favored the son who was a hunter. But he did. He favored Esau because he liked the meat that he brought home. He had a taste for game. And Rebekah favored Jacob. So Isaac's favoring the manly man, and Rebekah's favoring the quieter, stay-at-home type guy. One day when Jacob had cooked some stew, Esau came in from the open country exhausted. And it's interesting when you read extra biblical texts, like if we read this part of Jasher, and we find out what Esau was doing in the field and what he was trying to hunt down when he came in so exhausted, it's pretty interesting. We're not going to have time to go into Jasher today, so we might do that on another video. But he comes in from the country exhausted and says to Jacob, please, help me gulp down some of that red stuff. That red stuff. I'm exhausted. This is why he was called Edom, which means red, because of the red porridge, and he had red skin also. Jacob answered, first sell me your rights as the firstborn. Look, I am about to die, said Esau. What use are my rights as the firstborn? Jacob said, first swear to me. So Jacob is taking advantage of this situation right here. And Esau doesn't really care. So he swore to him, thus selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave him bread and lentil stew. He ate and drank, got up and went his way, and thus Esau showed how little he valued his birthright. Didn't care about his birthright so much that it was easy for him to give it away for a pot of stew. Chapter 26. A famine came over the land. Here comes another famine. Not the same as the first famine, which had taken place when Abraham was alive. Isaac went to Gerar to Abimelech, king of the Philistines. The Lord appeared to him and said, don't go down to Egypt. So remember last time, Abraham went down to Egypt. But now this time, he's telling Isaac, don't go down there. But live where I tell you. Stay in this land and I will be with you and bless you, because I will give all the lands to you and to your descendants. I will fulfill the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky. I will give all these lands to your descendants, and by your descendants all the nations of the earth will bless themselves. All this is because Abraham heeded what I said and did what I told him to do. He followed my mitzvot, or my commandments, my regulations, and my teachings. So you see, God's commandments, teachings, and regulations were already in existence before the giving of the Torah. It was already in existence. So Isaac settled in Gerar. The men of that place asked him about his wife, and out of fear, here we go again. Out of fear, he said, she is my sister. He thought, if I tell them she's my wife, they might kill me in order to take Rebekah. After all, she's a beautiful woman. But one day after he had lived there long enough, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, happened to be looking out of a window when he spotted Isaac caressing Rebekah, his wife. He's like, I don't think that's what brothers and sisters do. Abimelech summoned Isaac and said, she is your wife after all. How could you say that she's my sister? Isaac responded, because I thought I would get killed because of her. Abimelech said, what is this you have done to us? One of the people could easily have slept with your wife. Hold on, I'm seeing some delay here. It's getting a little bit delayed. I just want to give it a second. Is it clearing up? Okay, let's go. I think it's better now. He says, what is this you have done to us? One of the people could have easily slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us. Then Abimelech warned all the people, whoever touches this man or his wife will certainly be put to death. Isaac planted crops in that land and reaped that year 100 times as much as he sowed. The Lord had blessed him. So God is already keeping his promise. He's protecting him and his wife, and he gives him 100-fold from what he planted. The man became rich and prospered more and more until he had become very wealthy indeed. He had flocks, cattle, a large household, and the Philistines envied him. So they're envying Isaac. They see that God is blessing him. Now the Philistines had stopped up and filled with dirt all the wells his father's servants had dug during the lifetime of Abraham, his father. So they're jealous, and now the Philistines cover up all the wells that they had dug. Abimelech said to Isaac, you must go away from us, because you have become much more powerful than we are. Now they're afraid. So Isaac left, got up, set up camp in Vadi Gerar, and lived there. Isaac reopened the wells which had been dug during the lifetime of Abraham his father, the ones that the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham died, and called them by the names his father had used for them. Isaac's servants dug in the valley and uncovered a spring of running water. But the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, claiming, these waters are ours. So he called the well Esek, which means quarrel, because they quarreled with him. They dug another well and quarreled over that one too. So he called it Sitnah, which means enmity. He went away from there and dug another well, and over that one they didn't quarrel. Why, I don't know. So he called it Rehoboth, which means wide open spaces. And he said, because now the Lord has made room for us, we will be productive in the land. It's all about having your own space. You see this? You want to have your own space. You don't want to be too close to people. I say this over and over again. We're not meant to live in cities that are congested. You want your own space. From there, Isaac went up to Beersheba. The Lord appeared to him that same night and said, I am the God of Abraham your father. Do not be afraid, because I am with you. I will bless you and increase your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham. There he built an altar and called on the name of the Lord. He pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants dug a well. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar with his friend Ahutzat and Pichol, the commander of the army. So now he has his own space, he has his own wells, and now Abimelech, who he left, is traveling with his two commanders of his army to go see Isaac. Isaac said to them, why have you come to me, even though you were unfriendly to me and sent me away? They answered him, we saw very clearly that the Lord has been with you, and we said, let there be an oath between us. Let's make a pact between ourselves and you that you will not harm us. So they're seeing that God is with him. They see that he's blessed, and they're like, let's make a pact so he can't attack us. They're doing this pretty much for selfish reasons. Keep your enemies closer, right? Your friends close and your enemies closer. That you will not harm us, and that you will not, and that just as we have not caused you offense, but have done you nothing but good and sent you on your way in peace. Now you are blessed by the Lord. So Isaac prepared a banquet for them, and they ate and they drank. The next morning they got up early and swore to each other. Then Isaac sent them on their way, and they left him peacefully. That very day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they had dug. We have found water. So he called it Shiva, meaning 7. That's actually the number for 7 in Hebrew, which is Shiva. And the same number for 7 also means oath. For this reason, the name of the city is Beersheba, well of 7, or well of oath, to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, so now this is Esau. So this is Isaac's son, okay? This is Isaac's son. I mean, Esau and Isaac are twins. When Esau was 40 years old, he took as wives Yehudit, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basmat, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. So he takes 2 Canaanite women, Esau does. This just tells you how worldly Esau was. He's a hunter, and he took 2 women from Canaan. And then so of the Hittites, which were part of the Canaanites, part of these Nephilim peoples. But they became a cause for embitterment of spirit to Isaac and Rebekah. So, as you imagine, you're a parent today and you have children, and one of your kids goes off and marries someone who you know is not good for them. So they're distraught because Esau is not a godly, he's not a godly guy. He doesn't care about God. He wants the world and he doesn't care. In the course of time, so this is chapter 27, guys. In the course of time, after Isaac had grown old and his eyes dim, so that he couldn't see, he called Esau his older son and said to him, "My son," and he answered, "Here I am. Look, I'm old now. I don't know when I will die. Therefore, please take your hunting gear, your quiver of arrows, and your bow. Go out to the country and get me some game. Make it tasty the way I like it. Bring it to me to eat, and then I will bless you as the firstborn before I die." So he's going to bless Esau before he dies. So, but he wants him to go out and, I guess, have his last taste of meat before he dies. So Rebecca was listening, just like a caring mother would. You know, we'd listen to everything. She was listening when Isaac spoke to her son, Esau. So when Esau went out to the country to hunt for game and bring it back, she said to her son Jacob, "Listen, I hear your father telling Esau, your brother, bring me game and make it tasty, so I can eat it. Then I will give you my blessing in the presence of the Lord before my death. Now pay attention to me, my son, and do what I tell you." So the mother, she knows Isaac, that Jacob is the one who's going to inherit the promises of God because he is a keenly and acutely responsive to the things of God. So she doesn't want the blessing going to Esau. "Now pay attention to me, my son, and do what I tell you. Go to the flock and bring me back 2 choice kids. I will make it tasty for your father the way he likes it, and you will bring it back to your father to eat, so that he will give his blessing to you before his death." Jacob answered Rebekah, his mother, "Look, Esau is hairy, but I have smooth skin." So clearly these were not identical twins. They were paternal twins because Esau is very hairy and Jacob doesn't have that much hair. I have smooth skin. Suppose my father touches me, he'll know I'm trying to trick him, and I'll bring a curse on myself and not a blessing." But his mother said, "Let your curse be on me. Just listen to me and go get me the kids." So he went, got them and brought them to his mother, and his mother prepared them in the tasty way his father loves. Next, Rebekah took Esau, her older brother's best clothes, okay, which she had in her house, put them on Jacob, her younger son. And she put on the skins of the goats on his hands, on the smooth parts of his neck. And she gave the tasty food and the bread she had prepared to her son Jacob. So Rebekah's orchestrating all of this. He went to his father and said, "My father." And he replied, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Remember, Isaac can barely see at this point. Got cataracts. Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I've done what you've asked me to do. Get up now, sit down, eat game, and then give me your blessing." Isaac said to his son, "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" He answered, "The Lord your God made it happen that way." Isaac said to Jacob, "Come here close to me so I can touch you, my son, and know whether you are in fact Esau or not." Jacob approached, so Isaac must think, "This doesn't sound like Esau. Let me touch him and make sure." Because this is what he says. Jacob approached Isaac, his father, who touched him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are Esau's hands." However, he didn't detect him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he gave him his blessing. So he brought it up to him, and he ate. And he also brought him wine, and he drank. Yeah, he drank wine. So he eats the food, he drinks the wine. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come close now and kiss me, my son." He approached and kissed him. Then Isaac smelled his clothes and blessed Jacob with these words, "See, my son smells like a field which the Lord has blessed. So may God give you dew from the heaven and richness of the earth and grain and wine in abundance. May peoples serve you and nations bow down to you. May you be Lord over your kinsmen. Let your mother's descendants bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you." Okay? So now the blessing has gone to Jacob. But as soon as Isaac had finished giving him his blessing to Jacob, when Jacob had barely left his father's presence, they got done just in the nick of time. Esau, his brother, came in from hunting. He too had prepared a tasty meal and brought it to his father, and now his father said, "Let my father get up and eat from his son's game so that you may give me your blessing." Isaac, his father, said to him, "Who are you?" And he answered, "I am your son, your firstborn Esau." Isaac began trembling uncontrollably and said, "Then who was it that took game and brought it to me? I ate it all just before you came, and I gave my blessing to him." That's the truth, and the blessing must stand. In other words, he couldn't retract it. They were very, very serious when imparting a blessing. It was like etched in stone. There was no taking it back. He said, "The blessing must stand." When Esau heard his father's words, he burst into loud, bittering sobbing. "Father, bless me too," he begged. He replied, "Your brother came deceitfully and took away your blessing." Esau said, "His name, Jacob, really suits him," because that means kind of like a trickster. "Because he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and here now he takes away my blessing?" Then he asked, "Haven't you saved a blessing for me?" Isaac answered Esau, "Look, I have made him your lord. I have given him all his kinsmen and servants, and I have given him grain and wine to sustain him. What else is that I can do for you, my son? Esau says to his father, Have you only one blessing, my father? Father, bless me too. Esau wept aloud. And Isaac his father answered him, Here, come here. Your home will be of the richness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you break loose, you will shake his yoke off your neck. So check this out. He says, you will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother, Jacob. But when you break loose, you will shake his yoke off your neck. Esau hated his brother because of the blessing his father had given him. Esau said to himself, The time for mourning my father will soon come, and then I will kill my brother Jacob. But the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. She sent for Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, Here, your brother Esau is comforting himself over you by planning to kill you. Therefore, my son, listen to me. Get up and escape to Laban, my brother, in Haran. Stay with him a little while until your brother's anger subsides. Your brother's anger will turn away from you, and he will forget what you did to him. Then I'll send and bring you back from there. Why should I lose both of you on the same day? Rebekah said to Isaac, I am sick to death of Hittite women. So now she's changing the subject, and she's trying to get the subject off of Jacob. Rebekah says to Isaac, I am sick to death of Hittite women. Because remember, Esau married 2 Hittite women, 2 Canaanite women. If Jacob marries one of the Hittite women, like those who live here, my life won't be worth living. I'm honestly very surprised that Isaac allowed his son to do such a thing. I don't know where he went wrong with Esau. So here's Rebekah. She's saying, I'm so sick to death of Hittite women. So she's kind of like turning it around, like she's going to send Jacob off to go find a wife. Okay, and so the last part of we're in chapter 28 now. Here's the last 2 paragraphs that we're going to read in our study. So Isaac called Jacob and said, after blessing him, charged him, You are not to choose a wife from the Hittite women. Go now to the home of Bethuel, your mother's father, and choose a wife from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May El Shaddai bless you, make you fruitful, and increase your descendants until they become a whole assembly of peoples. And may he give you the blessing which he gave Abraham, you and your descendants with you, so that you will possess the land you will travel through, the land God gave to Abraham. So Isaac sent Jacob away. And he went to Padan Aram, to Laban, the son of Bethuel the Arami. So he's going back to the same household. Okay? The brother of Rebekah, Jacob and Esau's mother. Now choose a wife from there, and that as he blessed him, he charged him, You are not to choose a Canaanite woman as your wife. And that Jacob had listened to his father and mother and gone to Padan Aram. Esau also saw that the Canaanite women did not please Isaac, his father. So now he's starting to see that the Canaanite women that he chose weren't pleasing his father. So now Esau goes to Ishmael and took, in addition to the wives he already had, Mahalat, the daughter of Ishmael's, Abraham's son, and the daughter of Nebayot to be his wife. He's trying to make up for being a bad boy. He first marries two Canaanite women, and now he's seeing that they sent Jacob away to go marry someone who was not a woman that's not a Canaanite. And so Esau is trying to somehow make better of this situation, and he goes and picks out two more women, but now from the household of Ishmael. Not that that's going to be any better, but apparently he thought it would be better than... So he's trying to please his father now in a certain way, but the damage has already been done. He has lost his birthright and his blessing. And yeah, Jacob tricked him. So I find this interesting, and tell me what your thoughts are. So Jacob tricks his brother into getting his blessing, but then his mom has him trick his brother into receiving his birthright. I'm sorry, I had that backwards. He tricked him into giving him his birthright. She helps him trick him into stealing his blessing as well. But then we see later on that Jacob kind of reaps what he sows, because now Jacob is going to be tricked into something with Laban. Is Jacob kind of reaping what he sows? Is he kind of is God kind of showing him how his brother felt when he stole his birthright? Was that not the right thing to do? Because God said, I will bless, I will bless your descendants, and it was going to go through Isaac and Jacob. But somehow they conspired to make it happen on their own, and maybe that wasn't the way to go about it. I don't know. But I just think it's interesting. Anyways, I think that's going to be all for today. That is the end of our reading, 28 through 29. Next Saturday, next Shabbat, when we read the rest of this, we're going to read about Jacob and Rachel. We're going to read a lot about Jacob and Rachel. And that's a beautiful story as well, Jacob and Rachel. That's kind of a love story. But it's a very, very prophetic story with Rachel and Leah. It is very prophetic. It is a prophetic picture of the two houses being brought back together. And so that'll be interesting. I hope you'll be able to make it next week. I'm hoping to do a video tomorrow. I'm not sure if we're going to read more of Jasher. We might just read more of Jasher tomorrow and continue our Jasher study. And then I might go into a couple of other things that I want to share with you tomorrow. So I don't have a time. I apologize. I don't like setting times if I don't know for sure that I can keep that certain time. But it will be sometime tomorrow. I'll try to let you know ahead of time if I can. But we will... Jessica, thank you for this. We always listen as a family. Oh, that's wonderful, Jessica. Jessica Torres says, my oldest is 8 and gets into it. That's so great. Your 8-year-old is listening? That's amazing that you can get an 8-year-old to sit with you and listen to all this. That's pretty amazing. I didn't think 8-year-olds could watch anything except for VeggieTales, honestly. So she's your oldest. I'm saying she. I don't know that it's a she. Usually girls are better at sitting still, but that's pretty amazing that you're able to. They're able to keep you're able to keep their attention. So I'm so glad you guys were able to make it. I hope to see you tomorrow. There are some things I do want to go. Oh, he loves hearing about the Bible. That is so great. A boy at 8 years old. That is a blessing. That truly is a blessing. Yeah, so I'll let you know tomorrow what time we'll get together. And I like reading in the shorter portions because we don't have to rush through it. I want to be able to take a little bit of time and sort of see clearly each section. Otherwise, we would just be rushing through it and that's how we kind of skip over some things and miss some things. So thank you guys for being here. I hope to see you tomorrow. If you can't make it, just watch the replay. The replay is always there. Just go under videos, and it'll be there. It'll be on the page. So hope to see you tomorrow. If not, sometime this week. And God bless you, and Shabbat Shalom.